Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! My ex-wife was a school teacher. As such, I always volunteered to help around the school and help her and other teachers with some of the things they needed help with, like artistic bulletin boards and such. One day I took her to school and the staff had a meeting. I was working on replacing the artwork in the bulletin board near the front to match the current seasons and events before I go to work. I had my visitor badge on and everything, and in comes this crazy lady with her kid. She walks up to me and says,
"Here, please take him to the cafeteria."
I'm in a hurry. For context, you should know that in my country, unless it's your job, you can get into a lot of trouble if I agree. I told her, "Lady, I don't work here. You'll have to take him in yourself," while pointing to my visitor badge, which she 100% ignored. She proceeded to say that you will take my child and escort him because I pay your salary. I smiled and politely said, "Again, I don't work here. And no, you don't." I turned to continue working on the board and she grabbed me to turn me around, and my visitor badge hit her square in the eye. She screamed and yelled and accused me of assaulting her. At the noise, the staff who just finished their meeting came out, and my ex-wife and principal came toward us to know what happened. Karen was already on the phone with the police and accusing me of assaulting her. I explained the situation to my ex and the principal and asked him to prepare the camera footage for the police when they arrive. The Karen is now screaming at the principal demanding that I get fired. The principal keeps explaining that I don't work here and that I'm a volunteer who is married to one of their teachers, but she won't have it. The police arrive and take our statements. The staff showed them the video and it was clearly her fault. They asked me if I wanted to press charges and I say yes. She was taken away in handcuffs, kicking and screaming. She hit the officers in the process, which added to her charges. She ended up with 6 months in prison and 500 hours of community service. Hey guys, just wanted to thank you for the amazing response to my personal request yesterday that, if you're a regular viewer of my channel, to please subscribe. Usually I get like 30 to 60 new subscribers per day at max, but yesterday alone after I asked you guys for support, so I truly appreciate that. It kinda felt like thanking you properly like this. And please, if you haven't subscribed yet, kindly press the button down below. It would really help me a bunch. Sorry for making you wait, let's move to our next story. So, I'm a fat girl. I don't sugarcoat it. I'm not a fat advocate and don't believe if you're morbidly obese you should get special treatment, but I don't fat shame people except myself either. I just exist in the fat world and don't care about losing weight. August 2021, I was in a horrible car accident and dislocated and shattered my hip bone. I was wheelchair bound for 3 months and had crutches for 2 more. While being wheelchair bound, I had to use the electric wheelchairs for grocery shopping, and my siblings helped me a lot too. But I would always bring my home wheelchair just in case someone needed this wheelchair more. Sometimes I would give people who thought I was just fat and lazy because I didn't look injured unless I wore shorts. You could see the scars and stitches. So I understand. One day in September I was rolling around in a scooter and a lady came up to me. Here is the conversation.
"You know, being lazy like this will not only hurt you but other people too. And you should be letting the elderly use this."
"Oh, I apologize, but actually..."
"You don't have some disorder that makes you this fat. My daughter is a nurse, she would know."
"Ma'am, I completely agree, but I
don't care. I am elderly and need it more."
I decided to just shut up and pull my pants down a little to show the stitches.
"You pervert! How dare you flash me?"
"Ma'am, I'm broken. I was in a car accident."
"That's a lie. Children don't break hips. Those are fake."
"I was 21, 22 right now." Okay, ma'am, please just get lost. I start to roll away and she stands in front of me demanding the card. I tell her to get lost again and she comes back around to the side to start pulling my arm. With this, it makes my hip start hurting pretty bad. But security walks up and says pretty much to let her have it and that I don't need it without even asking questions. At this point, I was just annoyed and pretty much said fine. Just let me call my sister to bring my wheelchair. The security officer said that's fine, but I have to get out of the chair to wait. I decided then to explain the same thing, but he didn't believe me until I showed him the stitches. He then turned to the lady and said that he would get her one, but she couldn't have that one, so she got enraged and said, "She's faking it," and pushed me almost out of the chair and hurt me so much. I finally decided to call the cops and tell them that there was a crazy lady who was hurting me and I feared for my safety. The security guard was now holding the lady and I waited for the police. They held the lady down and she was screaming everything in the book: harassment, assault, police brutality, and so on. I gave them my statement and ID and they called for backup because this lady was now hurting cops and they couldn't hold her down properly. Another cop showed up, and she was one of the ones who helped me in my accident, and so pretty much she corroborated my story. In the end, the lady was arrested and I was let go. I took some pain meds and continued shopping. I work fast food, so I know all about Karens, unfortunately. A few years ago, when I was in year 6, I got this teacher, let's call her Mrs. D, and she absolutely hated my family, from my mom to my brother and by extension, me. Some context. Younger brother was in year 5 at this point, but in year 1, my mom began pushing for him to be referred. This teacher was one of several that lied and said he was tested and didn't have anything wrong. They had an unqualified teacher do this test on him, and then about a third of the staff backed her up. My parents had to go private and spent a lot between a couple hundred and £1,000. We now know he's dyslexic and has ADD, which my mom also has, whilst my dad and several other members of our family have dyslexia. This teacher continued crap with my family, and after years I had her as my year 6 teacher. She hated me, despite the fact that I was a classic shy kid and didn't bother anyone. I have social anxiety and regularly get panic attacks, but she wouldn't let me leave the classroom. Mrs. D's torment continued for a total of 10 months, and after shouting at me in front of the class for missing the summer performance, I was at home throwing up for 3 days and had a temperature of 39 Celsius. It wasn't even like I had lines. We all just sang the songs and that was it. On the Monday of my final week in that school is when the assembly will happen. The week before the leavers assembly. My entire class is writing our speeches as we are all required. I completed mine, and it had all that stereotypical boring stuff, but Mrs. D was out to get me and decided to rewrite the entire thing for me. Turns out, she did this to most in my class, then rips up my speech in front of me. That Sunday night, my angry 11-year-old self wrote the most passive-aggressive speech in the history of speeches. I was out telling Mrs. D. I read it out to a room of my 30 classmates, all our parents and grandparents, plus a bunch of my old teachers and our head teacher. Everyone was filming and laughing then. At the back of the room, I saw the look of terror in her eyes. But I didn't stop and even showed the speech she wrote before ripping it up to shreds. At the end, I gave the reward to a classmate of mine before walking off the stage with the biggest smirk ever. Highlights include, thanks to Mrs. D, I now know that it's not what you know but who you know. She favored those with parents on the PTA. And I also said something about her judging my family yet being too busy with her phone to notice the fact that her kids were running across a road unsupervised, and 2 of them were nearly hit by a car when they suddenly run in front of a car. I was walking by and saw that. Another is, I'm very grateful for some people and have a lot of respect for those people like Mrs. G and Mrs. M. Luckily for her, Mrs. D doesn't have to be burdened with that kind of stress, or I'm sure everyone knows of the character. Mrs. Trunchbull, thanks to Mrs. D, I was able to experience her in person. There was more, but I couldn't think of anything off the top of my head because it was about 6 years ago. Afterwards, I had parents and some teachers come up to me and congratulate me on my speech. One of the best moments of my life to this day. Edit. Before you say anything rude, please think about what you're gonna post as you are saying it to 11-year-old me. Yes, I was kinda push and acted mature for my age because of a lot of bullying I dealt with. Edit 2. Since some people brought it up, I never saw her after year 6 until recently, as my younger sister went there and she hugged me. I think realization hit her hard back then. When I came to school the next day, I became a sort of a legend all week, and people from my primary school still bring it up. I never got in much trouble other than being told that I should have stuck to her speech for me. This story takes place in 2018. I was 1 year out of high school, living in a small northern California town, known for wine and Creedence Clearwater Revival song. I was living with my girlfriend at the time. It was a bad relationship that I'm glad to be out of. The entitled parent of the story was her mom. Her sister was the entitled kid. And for the sake of privacy, let's just call them ex-girlfriend, entitled mom, and of course, the entitled kid. It was payday for the entitled mom's disability, so it was time to go grocery shopping. Me, my ex, the entitled mom, and the entitled kid all load into the car and head to the grocery store. When we got there, the entitled kid ran right for the electric cart for people with limited mobility. The entitled kid was 11 years old and perfectly capable of walking, but we ignored her because it wasn't worth the fight. The grocery shopping itself was pretty uneventful. The fireworks didn't start until we started to leave the store. Me and X did our own grocery shopping with our own money, and we took our stuff and went to go wait out in the car. Next thing we know, the entitled mother was texting us saying, "You need to get in here right now and back me up." We thought that she was in real trouble, so we ran back into the store. And to our absolute horror, the entitled mother was screaming at the top of her lungs, "How dare you yell at my daughter? She's only 11 years old." The employee she was yelling at was calmly trying to explain that she didn't yell at the kid. She simply told her to get off of the mobility scooter cart because they were made for the disabled and the elderly. And this is when the entitled kid chimes in.
"She's lying. She yelled at me and called me stupid."
There was absolutely no truth to this. The entitled kid was a pathological liar. She lied about everything all the time for no reason. The entitled mother's face went completely red, and she started screaming again. "My daughter is disabled. Her leg is broken, and how dare you call her stupid?" The entitled kid had actually broken her leg. 2 years prior to this interaction, she could walk just fine. Me and my ex never actually got to say anything. The entitled mother demanded that all of her groceries be put back and that she wouldn't be paying. She then demanded that me and my ex walk out with her and go back to the car. I said, "You guys go ahead. I'm gonna use a bathroom real quick." The entitled mother said,
"Fine, but hurry up."
As soon as everybody was out of earshot, I walked up to the employee she was screaming at, who was shaken up and on the verge of tears, and immediately started apologizing profusely. I was beyond embarrassed and offered to help put the groceries back. She thanked me but said that wouldn't be necessary. After I got back in the car, the entitled mother tried to tell us that we weren't allowed to shop there anymore, and that if she finds out we did, she would treat it as a betrayal to the family. And I had enough at this point. And I said, "You know, that was really embarrassing. You made a huge scene. Your kid was perfectly capable of walking but decided she wanted to play with electric cart. You can't just scream at people to get your way. You're setting your daughter up for failure and teaching her that she can just throw a tantrum to get her way." The entitled mother just sat there for a minute, her mouth agape. And when she finally spoke, she screamed,
Get out of my car.
And I said, fine by me. I don't want to be around you right now anyway. My ex started to get upset at this point and said, please just get back in the car and come home with us. Just swallow your pride and apologize. At this point in our relationship, she had already shown her true colors. She was an abusive, manipulative piece of garbage that I later found out cheated on me multiple times. I just looked at her and said, screw that. I'm sick of having to bottle up my feelings and be the first to apologize for everything. I'm going to my grandma's for a while. I just need to not be around you guys for a while. My grandma's house was literally 4 blocks away. I walked over there, hung out with my brother for a while. I told him what happened and he told me I needed to get out of that relationship and just move back home. This was advice that I wouldn't heed for another few months. Things got really dark in that relationship and I'm glad it's over, and I will never have to see those people ever again. We had a volleyball tournament. For reference, I'm a middle blocker, 6'5" and a vert of 70 centimeters. The game starts and everything goes good. Eventually, the entitled dad's kid gets subbed in because his team wasn't scoring, and apparently he's a star player. I blocked every hit he went for and his dad started to get visibly angry. Started to shout at me and stuff as well. After the game ended, we won, and I blocked nearly every shot from this guy. The entitled dad came to me asking what my problem is and stuff like this. I said, sorry man, it's my job. He started laughing and then stomped on my shin. It's broken now and I'm currently in hospital writing this story. And I was told that the dad should end up in jail. Also planning on suing for permanent damages. Doctor says I may not be able to play volleyball ever again. And I got a college offer. An update was a lot of hope. So it seems my friend was recording my volleyball match so I can reflect on what to improve on. It caught everything the guy did. So it seems my friend was recording my volleyball match so I can reflect on what to improve on. And he caught everything the guy did. My dad talked with his lawyer friends. And while I can make a post like this, no video is allowed to be published until after the case. I will post the video once a lawyer gives me the clear. In terms of suing, I'm able to sue him for everything I've lost because of this. And that since I had video proof, I will be able to easily press charges and will win the case. I appreciate all the love and support from you guys. I will keep updating you on how the case goes and make sure the lawyer proofreads everything to make sure it won't impact my case negatively. Thank you for everyone and keep tuned. I can't wait to publish this video. Another update. Even more good news. It's now business time and the lawyers have started work. They contacted police for footage and such, and were able to identify the man, currently processing the lawsuit. In Australia, I was told it's much quicker and easier. Thanks for your advice also guys. I have contacted the college which offered the scholarship and I'm now awaiting a reply from them. I will be bedridden for a while but I'm drinking my milk and eating healthy for a speedy recovery. My lawyer has informed me that publishing any videos online regarding the situation will be used against me in court. So I hope you guys can wait until after to see the brutal video. Thank you for watching and see you next time.